Hey everybody, I've been wanting to do this build for a long time. About 30 years ago, my father gave me these parts here, just like this, and he said, it's a bow saw. And I have been transporting this all over America, waiting to fix this, with some twine and a toggle. So in this video, I'm going to show Big D how to build my version of this. I refurbished this or repurposed this, but I learned a lot in doing this, and I want to show Big D how to make his own bow saw.
All right, Sedge, what are we building today?
We are going to build a bow saw. We are going to take an antique that my father gave me, and I've been toting around for years and years, and we're gonna fix this one so it's usable again.
Okay.
But we're gonna make our own version with parts that are available now from certain companies, like the blades and the pins.
Okay.
Into a really cool bow saw.
Quick question. What's a bow saw?
It's a turning saw.
What's a turning saw?
It's a frame saw.
Tune in next week and we'll figure out what a bow saw is.
Okay. Depending on the length, and you'll see them all over the internet, all over antique stores. It's a blade between a frame that's tensioned some way with a toggle and some twine. Okay. And I'll show how all that works. Now, this is a traditional bow saw, as I've been taught and growing up and using, where it's a little bit smaller, but you can use it to cut angles with, curves with. I use something like this to cut the waste out of dovetails before I chop them.
Okay.
All right. It's also known as a turning saw. Now, a frame saw, a large frame saw, you can hold like this. Here's the blade in the middle, and people used to veneer with that, and they still do. They can cut tenons, they can do all kinds of just regular resawing with it. Okay, and those can get very large.
Okay.
Okay, and then there's another type of bow saw or turning saw, and these are called coping saws, and you've seen them. Every handyman, trim carpenter has one for coping moldings and stuff. This one is beautiful, and it's just tensioned a different way.
Okay.
Okay, but you can cut curves with it. Jewelers use these as well. So it's a very traditional saw that through the course of this video, there's so much to this. I've been dying to repurpose this and show you how to do this. I'm going to teach you how to make a template. We're going to take this. This is our standard, our benchmark.
Okay.
This piece of the frame. And we're going to take that. I'm going to show you how to make a template.
Okay.
2, how to route with a template. Have you ever turned wood before?
No.
Okay, so this is gonna be fun, and we'll probably have it in a separate video. I'm gonna show Big D how to turn handles. Okay, so there you go.
That's awesome.
So let's first go over what we need to recreate.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the part of the side of the frame. Okay, you'll notice that these are very old and they're mortised right here.
Okay.
All right, this is the stretcher that goes in between. Okay, it has a blade, it has a couple of pins. I just use these old finish nails. Okay, it comes with these handles and what is known as a pin. Okay, so when that goes in, the pin is held in, or the blade is held in through here, and there's a hole in here. Now, when I was recreating the first one of these, I did them out of mahogany, walnut like this, and I realized something, that I wouldn't be able to use these because that fits in there perfectly, but how am I going to recreate it for like you?
Okay.
Okay, so what I needed to do is I needed to find modern day parts. Okay, so I put a twist on it a little bit. I ordered these pins right here from Gramercy Tools, and I'll show you how to epoxy these into these handles. And you're gonna see right here, instead of a through hole here, okay, it has a notch. And I also get these blades from Gramercy as well.
Okay.
And those pins, they have pins on the blades, and there's different tooth configurations, but that goes in there like this.
Oh,
see
wow.
that?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit shorter, so I had to redesign it. And that's what we're gonna build over the course of this week. Okay, but I did a couple other things too to make it kind of modern day.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna turn these handles. Those are the Gramercy pins, blade. All right, but if we look at this stretcher, okay, and the way it's mortised in there, there's no shoulder on this. Okay, so what I did is I said, you know what? Let's just use an 8mm domino. Okay, and the toggle, okay, that is our tensioner with this twine. Okay, we'll create the horns on here on the frame. This tensioner works perfect, and anybody can build this bow saw with just a few pieces of wood.
That's awesome.
And we'll do it. And you can actually buy handles if you need to. Okay, but I want to teach you how to turn.
Awesome.
Okay, so let's make a template.
Let's do it.
Sound good? Okay,
Yep.
so here's that piece of the bow saw. That's the frame, okay? Where it's mortised right here. This is your through hole here. Okay, on the newer version of the bow saw, we're not gonna do that size. We're gonna bore it 1/4 inch on the drill press.
Okay.
That'll be an 8mm domino. Look how cool this old saw is. You can actually see the layout lines with the marking gauge that craftsman used. And this is a critical part here. There's a little notch here. We call this the horn. Okay, we're going to make a template of this.
Okay.
And I was just gonna say, hey, look, I got a template. Let's go right to the router table. But I think it's really important to show people how to make a template. It's
Sure.
a lot of fun doing it. Once you make one of these, if you're careful, that'll last a very long time. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place this on here. I'm gonna look at this a little bit, and this has got a slight angle. We can recreate that later because we're gonna be rounding over with a rasp.
Okay.
So we're gonna take it like this, pretty even. Now what's really cool is, this is why I like this picker, okay, is I've extended the lead here. So I can take that, I'm gonna have you do this, and I'm gonna put it at a perfect 90 like this. So we can start tracing this. Okay, and I'm just gonna bring it right in here and keep it at a 90 like that, and I'm gonna have you do the outside. Okay? And I'm just gonna come over here, I'm gonna start where the notch is, and I'm gonna have you trace that side. I'm gonna hold it right there. So you can do that. Extend that lead.
Okay.
Okay. And what'll be nice is when we do our final shaping with that Nicholson, okay, we'll make sure that it fits your hand perfect, right where you need, where you'll be using it and sawing with.
Okay.
Cool?
Custom, baby.
Custom. So there you go. Now what we're gonna do is we have our basic layout. See how it seems thicker right here? It is because the outside is where we traced it, but it's thinner here. It is that thick, but it's thinner here because it's rounded over.
Oh, okay.
So we'll take it over to the scroll saw and we'll do a cutout of this.
Awesome, let's do it.
You betcha.
What is this?
Okay, good. This is known as a scroll saw. You've used the bandsaw before?
Yes.
Okay. This is the unit I use when I get some tight scrolling.
Okay.
Now, when we're cutting today, I'll show you, I'll do some relief cuts, and then I'll have you mess around with it a little bit.
Okay.
You'll see I put some tension on here, okay, where it's loose, but as I bring it up, I get the tension. I also set this part here, okay, this is holding down the material. I set that in tension so it doesn't come flying up. Let me give it a little more tension. There we go. So that's locked under there, and this is to blow the sawdust away.
Okay.
So just like a bandsaw, it's just a lot thinner and a lot more control.
Okay.
And this is a fun saw to use. So I'll start doing some relief cuts. Chris, come in here and see this so you can see. We're not going to cut to the line. Exact, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay? See how I'm bringing it right in? Yep. I'll adjust that dust extraction. We will cut fairly close because we're going to sand to this line with the oscillating spindle sand. Okay. But you can see where I can really turn this saw absolutely perfect on a dime. Wow. See that? So you can see you can actually cut teardrops with it. Just so you get used to this, so I'm going to have you come right about here, and then I want you to turn it like I did, just so you get the feel of the control you have. And I'm going to show you something really cool as you do this. Okay, now start to turn it. Okay, stop. Let go. Oh. So if you're ever, when you're using a scroll saw, you're ever, oh no, it's starting to wander, just stop. Okay. And then you can correct it. See how close I am getting to that horn? Oh, wow. And then you come in just like this, watch. You just gotta be careful with cuts like this. Okay, so remember, you can cut to the line, but if that wanders, it might be off a little, so stay, if you can, a little outside the line. We'll sand up to it. Now, there'll be parts on here where, because this is your first time, it may not be perfect.
Well, that's okay, right?
No one will know except you and I, and maybe Chris.
He'll never let me forget.
But we want to make sure that there's certain areas that, like, this has to be flat right in here.
Okay.
Okay, this horn doesn't have to, you see, I cut on this horn, I cut close. We'll refine all of that on the oscillating drum sander.
Okay.
So let's practice on this one. I'll turn it on for you. You just take your time. Damn, you're a natural, Big B.
You got good hands, I've been told.
You're gonna come up, keep going. I'll get that out of there for you. So now, that was a perfect cut, Big D. We'll sand that flush. But I'm gonna get this started for you, okay, where I'm right on the line, and I'm gonna have you come in here. See how you can stop and start? So I'm gonna have you come in, so go ahead and start it.
Okay.
Okay, good. And just take your time. And remember, this is a lever here, so you can get some great control with that. There you go, you're doing good. Keep coming. Yeah, come, oh, there you go. Now you're back on the line. And this is your first time using a scroll saw. You're doing absolutely fantastic. Stay right on that line. After a while using a scroll saw, the more you stay on the line, the less sanding you have to do. Okay, good. Keep, oh, wait, keep going, dog. You're doing good, man. Sometimes some hand sanding too will actually perfect it. It's okay, it's okay. You're doing good. You're doing great. Stay right on that line. See how that blows it away so you can see it? Then when you get right about here, come right out. Okay? Perfect.
Come right out?
Yep, come right out. Perfect. Feel that?
The feeler gauges.
Yep, you can refine that, and that's actually going to fit perfect in your hand. Okay, as I'm doing this, you're going to notice this is a really small piece, right, Big D? Yep. Okay, and as I come around this bend, okay, I'm going to come out, and I want to get rid of that small piece. Look how close that is to the blade.
That's a no for me, dog.
Okay, so that's why I always have a pencil readily available to take it out of the way. And I use the eraser end, okay? So there you go. That's what we call the big D bump. But you see that right there? We'll take care of that with the oscillator. Even this, when I'm ever making a template, I'm never too worried about getting exactly to the line.
Okay, makes sense.
Cool. Okay, so what'd you do? Not bad. All right, we got a few bumps. We'll take that to the oscillating spindle sander. The only part I believe is really critical on this is this flat spot.
Okay.
Okay, that flat spot came out nice, but this one, we're going to make sure it's dead flat. So what I did is I took a piece of sandpaper here, put it off of a corner, and I got a dead flat surface here. And you see how that's fairing right out?
Nice.
Okay, so that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that that's dead flat. And you'll see that come about. And what I always look for is you could feel that, but you see right there, there's a little ridge. That'll transfer when we're using it as the template on the router table. So it's just a back and forth like this, trying to get it exactly where you need it. And we'll take those lines or those undulations out of there, and there you go.
Nice.
Perfect.
I gotta ask, what's this?
It's a oscillating spindle sander, and you'll see you can get different diameters. So if this was a tighter curve, I'd probably put in a smaller diameter spindle with paper. But you're gonna notice something. If I had this on a drill press, what you can do, you can take a drum and put it on there. You're only gonna use this amount of sandpaper. With an oscillator, okay, and you're gonna see, and Chris, hopefully you get in here, see how I'm taking it right to the line? And you just take your time, and you slowly refine that shape. And you can take out, I'm gonna have you take out that bump, but you're gonna see how that slowly takes you right to the line where you need to be for that template. And you don't stay in one spot, you work it back and forth. And you'll see how that's starting to fare out at a perfect 90 degrees.
Nice.
Okay, and we got some work ahead of us.
All right.
So I'm gonna have you come in here and start working that in. Nice and easy. And then slowly work it up in here too, so you don't concentrate on that one area. And that's how you make a template.
Wow, okay.
Okay, cool. Let's see how that feels. And you always go like this with your finger. And you can feel that bump, so I'd work that in there. See, it stops there. That's fine all the way back, but start working it in here. And the more of these bumps you get out of there, when this goes to the router table, it'll always be refined. But you're getting back at this really good.
I had a good teacher.
Sometimes I'll do this. You know it's right there, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's look at it. And that's tough to discern, so this is where I would go, something like this. This is pretty good right here. I would just work that area in there.
Does it matter which side of the template?
No, because this is at a perfect 90. Remember, the more you perfect your template, the less work you will have in the long run at the router table.
That makes too much sense.
Always make sure that template's perfect, or it's close to perfect. There will be some handwork after this. Go ahead and turn it up.
Wow.
So that's your first template.
Awesome.
There you go.
All right, Sedge, what's next?
Okay, so you did a really good job on this template.
Thanks.
So what we're gonna do now is we gotta make the parts.
All right.
But what I wanna do is put one more mark on here that you'll see what it's for in a little while.
Okay.
Okay, is I took the original piece, okay, and this is 25 millimeters long. I divided it in half. You see the little tick mark I put there?
Yep.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this piece and match it up, just like this, making sure that the top of the horns are even. And the reason I'm doing this is I could put this exactly in the center, but the tension won't be where I need it. Okay, this is why I love using an old piece or an old saw like this. It takes all the guesswork out of there for me. So I'm just going to take that and I'm going to scribe this line, and you're going to see what that's for in just a little while. Okay? Where I can take that now and continue it.
Cool.
So that'll help me when we reference this board on the right face to get that exactly in the center for a stretcher with the 8mm domino.
Makes sense.
Okay.
All right, Sedge, what's next?
Okay, so the process is we have our template, and we're going to lay out the template on these two pieces of cherry.
Okay.
This is going to be our saw frame. And what we're going to do is we'll trace it out. We'll cut close to the line.
Okay.
Okay, and then we're going to take this template with double-sided stick tape, and we're going to duplicate this on these two pieces.
Nice, okay.
Okay, so I'm going to show you a little trick. I know this is flat and flat. I like to just eliminate as much work as possible, so we'll never have to touch that. And you'll see how that comes right in here. So I'm just going to draw this out like this.
Okay.
And we'll just come around here. And once again, we are cutting about a 1/16 to an 1/8 away, because this template will clean it all up for us. So nice. I'm going to trace one, and I'm going to have you trace one.
Okay.
And there you go. Make sure you bring it down in the corner.
Okay. My pencil control skills have greatly improved over the years, right? As I mess it up.
I'm glad you think so.
Yeah, I'm doing great.
Somebody's getting a little cocky.
Yeah, I gotta be careful with that, because I have nothing to be cocky.
How about an extra hand here?
Thank you, sir.
One more. So good job on getting the relief cuts on there. And now what we're going to do is just cut the scroll out. I would probably put one more right here into that notch.
All right, Sedge, what's next?
Okay, so we're going to do some template routing with our router table.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now there's a variety of ways to do this. We could have made a jig to hold this, but what I use a lot of the time, because this is such a small piece, we got to be very careful with it. We're going to apply this with double stick tape on here. Remember what our anchor points were, right down in here. Okay, but we're going to see, and you cut really perfect on this one, Big D. Okay, where we're just going to trim this to be the exact replica of the template. Okay. And I'll show you how to set it up on the router table.
Sounds good.
So the first thing we're going to do is right here. I love this double stick tape, and I'm going to use it quite a bit of it because I don't want it to move on there. Okay, now the key to this, as you'll see, is the removal of this afterwards. Okay, because you don't want to break this template. It can be quite fragile. So the other thing I'll do is I'll stick another piece down in here, and I'm not worried about it overlapping because I will trim it. Okay, and you'll see that in a second. And I'm going to come up here and I'll have you. Okay, now here is, see this horn right here? That is going to be here, end grain. So you got to be very, very cautious with this. So I'm going to take it just like this, bring it in, I'm going to cut it right here, because I want that fully supported around the bed. Now here's a little trick that I learned. You see my overlaps here? Okay, look, I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to trim that. Smart. Okay, I'm going to have you do that too. I love these knives because I could take that and press it right up against there and cut right down. Okay. Perfect. Just do that. Yep, perfect. So what I also like to do is I like to take, and before I peel this off, I like to burnish it in. Okay, just like this. And you can also see where, hey, I might have to trim that up. It's no big deal, but for me, let's get it perfect right away. Right. Okay, and there we go. And then what we're gonna do is we'll come in here, and I just like to grab it like this, and you'll see how it pulls right away. And there's your tape, see? Nice and sticky. So I'll have you do this one. Okay. There you go. Okay. And I'm careful when I remove this so I don't get a lot of sawdust on it, so I can use it for both parts. There you go. Good job. Okay. So I'll do the first one. Okay. Okay, and what I remember my reference point right in here.
Yep.
I'm gonna grab that first, and I'm just gonna take it nice and easy, making sure that I'm gonna trim everything that I need trimmed on. Okay, and like I said, there's room for refinement on here. Ooh, we got close there, but I still think we're gonna nail it. And then I'll take it and adhere it, so you'll see where it's really stuck on there.
Nice.
Okay, so once again, we gotta know how we're gonna take the flow on this on the router table.
Okay.
And I'll show you some great tips and tricks with this.
Sounds good.
Have you ever used the router table before?
No.
Wow, we're learning a lot in this build series. Okay, this is a different animal. Remember I told you with a handheld router, we had the template on top and we followed it left to right. This is a different animal. The rotation, you can see the arrow right here. The rotation's this way. So we're, oh look, there's the arrow right there. So that means we are gonna go right to left. So we're gonna be following like this. Not a big deal.
Okay.
Okay. Now, see this bearing right here? I have this bit here. This is a compression bit. It's an up and down spiral.
Okay.
Okay, this is a really good template bit. I'm not too concerned today with grain direction because of the up-down spiral.
Okay.
Okay, boy, there's a lot to this. We have to adjust this bearing so it rides this template that is absolutely to our standards, right? That we made. So with this, I'm going to lower it. Chris, can you come in here? I'm gonna bring it down just like this. I don't want to cut the template. I want to make sure I'm just following the template, but I still want to see with the cutter. And by the way, that cutter's right there, so I'm going to raise it just like that. I don't want to cut the template. For me, that's the right set on there. Okay. And we can always test it and go back and forth. Now, in all of that, we could start this up and we could take it right into that bit.
We could.
Look where our hands are. It's a little dangerous, right? Okay, so on this router table, okay, and you'll see on other router tables, they have what a start pin is, and it actually pivots your piece into there. Make it a little safer. But with this, the nice thing about this guard, but also start pin, is I got these three knobs in, and you see this right here? Okay, I'm going to tighten this up. So the nice thing with that start pin is I'll be able to, look, bring that right in like this and then start shaving. See how nice that is? Nice. And I got it right up against there like this. Now, the other nice thing about this is this guard. I'm gonna set it just like this, and we're just gonna have to be really careful, but that'll prevent our hands from getting in there. Okay, so I'll do the first one, I'll have you do the second one. Okay. So now, that is a perfect piece right there. And of course, there'll be some sanding, and where that end grain is, we'll take care of that with a Nicholson.
It's awesome.
Cool? So there's mine, now it's your turn.
Oh, jeez. How do we get this off so I can do mine?
Okay, so it's almost like it's welded on there, right?
That's some good tape.
Now, if I can teach you anything, You have so much work in this template so far. And also getting this cherry roughed in, and now it's a perfect match to the template, right?
Yep.
I've done this before, and it's flabbergasted me. I was so upset. I don't want you to be there.
Me either.
Okay, we have to separate this from this and put it back on here.
Okay.
Okay, so you can do one. All right. There's a variety of ways to do this. I've actually taken this screwdriver and put a chisel end on it. Okay, I love this tool here. It's a little tack remover, but I also have these other pry bars. This is what I want to teach you. I want to get in there somehow, okay, and separate it, and I don't want to pull it all off. I just want to get it going, okay? That will be rounded off down there, okay? See that?
Okay.
And then slowly start to take it. You don't want to take it all at once, okay? Because you don't want to break that MDF. You want to get in there and ever so slightly. I mean, the tape, who cares? We'll put more tape on. But don't take it and go like that because you'll snap it. And just slowly open it up, okay?
Perfect.
And be very careful. Take your time with this part because you have a lot of time in there. And there it goes. It's starting to pop apart. See that right there? That's a weak point. You want to support it as much as possible to pull it off.
Be gentile.
Okay, so see that? That's still pretty good.
Okay.
You have some here. We'll make sure that all comes off. See that right there? That little imperfection. It's okay. That'll be rounded over with a rasp. I'm not concerned, but boy, look how nice that came out, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, and all those marks right there, that burning, that'll all come off.
Okay.
Now, let's see how tacky that is. That's pretty good. I'm going to put a little bit more in the middle here.
Okay.
The one thing you don't want is this to move. But as I'm doing this, okay, make sure that you don't have any sawdust getting in there because that could separate it. So I'm just going to cut it and we'll get it stuck on again.
Sounds good.
When I put this on, I want that little cut mark completely gone and that one as well, which we'll get around the horn. That'll be fine. Let's see if we get good adherence. It should be fine. You're just gonna take your time on this.
Always.
Okay, Big D, what I want to have you do is I want you to start against the start pin, okay? And then as soon as you get it, you're going to bring it into the bearing, and I'm going to have you cut down here all the way to here. Now remember, when you do this, start pin, make sure your hand is never underneath this.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm just going to have you nice and easy do that, okay?
All right, Sedge, what's next?
Okay, so remember I tell you proper layout?
Yes.
Okay, so we took this measurement right here, remember? We scribed it off of the original antique one. Okay, so today we're going to create this mortise, and this is a mortise, it's just a through hole. We're gonna do that on the drill press.
Okay.
So layout is essential here because you want that perfectly in line.
Right.
Whether you hold it here or the tool handle, which we're gonna turn also. Okay, so here's where everybody gets discombobulated.
That's a big word.
Discombobulated. Okay. So that's why I had you and I, we marked it right there on your template. Okay, now I want to go back to the original. Okay, look where the Craftsman mortised it. This is 25 millimeters. We're going to go down to, I'm just going to take the 8 millimeter tenon we're going to be using. And I can switch it between metric or imperial, but it's gonna be about 21, almost 22 millimeters. So what I did is I shifted down that center line. We grabbed the center line and you see how it shifted down so it's more in the center. Okay, and we're gonna use an 8 by 750. We'll cut that domino.
Okay.
So afterwards, just to fit it so we can get proper tension without too many spins on the twine and the toggle. Okay, now here's where people make the mistake. I used to. It's so easy just to take this and mark it here, but what's the problem?
It's not in the center.
No, you have two rights. You need a left. See how easy that is?
It is.
And if someone's watching this video and says, I would never do that. Yes, you've done that. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna bring this over and I just need you just to make that tick mark right there on center. Okay? Just transfer it. Doesn't have to be all the way through because I want to show you another tip.
Okay.
Sometimes when I'm doing layout, and we're gonna be laying out like this. Clamp it is what I'm getting at. Look. Okay. Oh, wrong one. Watch. Clamp it. It makes it so much easier. And what I'm gonna have you do is come right across here and be careful because you're registering on that face.
Okay.
Make sure you bring that down.
All the way.
All the way.
Right.
Yep. Across.
Okay.
And then we'll bring it across the proper face after.
Get it right on the face.
Good? Okay, so leave it right there.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Now what I want to do, and this is why a saddle square is imperative.
Okay.
Take it and mark it just like that. See that?
Oh, nice.
Because
okay.
that's your face.
Okay.
See it? You got
Yeah.
it? Perfect. That's perfect.
All right.
Perfect. Got it? Aha! So we don't need the whole line like I did on this one. We just need that because that's where we're going to bring the domino.
Okay.
Now the other thing I always do. Okay, and people say, "Oh, you overmark things." This is my face. Okay, I know. Guess what's going there? The plate of the domino when we.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so another quick measurement we're going to take with it. Oh.
Okay.
Is going to take this since okay, so it's 21 and a half. It's 19.30.
Okay.
With the domino, I'm going to fault it at 20 millimeters. So we're going to go 10 from the face.
Okay.
And in here, it really doesn't matter that much. Okay, a half a millimeter off the center. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and that's what I did here. Look, hopefully you can see this. This was my face here, and a lot of people say, "Wow, that's right on center." It really isn't. That shoulder's a little bit thinner.
You know,
but when
I was going to say that earlier, but I'm joking.
But what'll happen is when you tension that, it doesn't matter. It comes right in.
Okay.
Okay. So we have the layout lines here for the domino.
Yep.
Now let's get our layout lines. Okay, for what? Our pins. Right here. Okay. So what I like to do is I've already done this one, but I want to show you how to do this one. Okay. So what I did is I measured up here, and to center, it's 25 millimeters.
Okay.
So what I'll do is I'll take this saddle square, and I'll make that tick mark at 25, and I'll have you bring that across. Okay. Now let's take a measurement of this while we're here, okay? So this is just a hair under 20 millimeters in thickness.
Okay.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mark it at 10, but you see my shoulder here? Okay, that is, I'll mark it at 10, and that'll be my crosshair for that brad point bit. And you'll notice where I did this one yesterday, that's exactly a 10 as well.
Nice.
Okay. Does it have to be exactly in the center? Probably not, but we want to get it close to it. So there you go. That's your layout. Okay, so we have our height of our plate right here set at 20. That means from this face, where I'm going to put the plate, it's going to be 10 millimeters to the center where I have it marked. It's 10 millimeters off the face. We always have to reference faces.
Yep.
Okay, that's why I put the big X on there. Now, for plunge depth, I'm trying to remember what I originally did here, and I'm just going to take that, and this is why that vernier caliper is great. I can take it in, and there you go. It's 28 millimeters, so we will set this at 28. The setting's going to be tight. I'm just verifying everything here, then I'm going to go right in.
Okay.
And I'm ready to go. Now, let's talk about clamping this piece. This won't fit on the Vaxis. It's a very small piece.
Right.
When you clamp something, okay, you got to limit. If I clamped it with one clamp, it would pivot.
Right.
So you got to remember, one of the laws of the domino is working off at the table. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I want that plate to sit perfectly flat. So when I come in here, I'll just start it, and I'll plunge at a steady rate in line. But make sure that plate's flat on top of there. I'll do a test fit, and look how perfect that is, man. So guess who's doing the next one?
Chris.
You.
Oh.
Okay, so
all right.
Now we're gonna do the second mortise. It's actually a through hole with the drill bit. We're gonna use the drill press. And what we're drilling for, okay, is this pin that goes through there. So I'm gonna chuck it up, and it's the same that we'll use that bit in the lathe in a little while. Okay, it's the same as this, but let's take a measurement on it so you can see this. See how it's 6.23? This is the beauty of a digital readout, where I can go like this. And of course, sometimes I have to do this, but I'll tell you it's a 1/4 inch. So that's why I came about using a 1/4 inch.
Cool. All right.
Okay. I did a test with it. It was a perfect fit. So what we're gonna do is there's a couple tricks that I always do on this. I'm using this machinist vise on here. I like the weight of it. It just works good. I can align it just right. But what I want is I want that hole to be through there at a perfect 90. So what I'll do is I chucked it up in here, and I'll just take something I know is a right angle, and that's how I line it, because I took that line that we scribed earlier and brought it down with the saddle square.
That makes sense.
So I know that's at 90. So what I'll do is now I'll come in here, and I'll just take that brad point and move this in so it's right on that cross here that we laid out. And I just like doing it this way because it works. And I'll drill the first one.
Sounds good.
Now when I'm drilling with a brad point bit, I'm not putting too much pressure. And as I come through, I'm just gonna bring it out. Now, I'm not really worried about a lot of tear out on the other side. That's why I'm just taking my time. Because on the other side of this, that's where the handle's gonna go. So if there's some tear out, no big deal. I just take my time doing this. Drilling it out like this. And see, I'm already through. Okay. And I'll just bring it through. So we'll take a look at this, and I'll have you drill the next one.
Sounds good.
So we'll just take it off like this, and look, there's barely any tear out, but that's where the pin will go in, like this. It's right on center, at a 90, and as I push it through, you'll see where it'll come right through. Good job. Oh, look at him, he's getting cocky, and he's slapping that bubba off. Okay, let's see how it came out. Oh, yeah, see? But it's okay, the handle, there's a little bit of tear out, but the handle will cover that.
Right.
Okay, the flange of it. So there you go. Good.
Awesome. All right, Sedge, what's next?
He knows his lines. Okay. This is where it's gonna turn into a lot of fun, but it can become a distraction. Okay, I only turn wood for utility. I don't do it full time. There are people who turn constantly. That's their niche in woodworking. Okay. I'm gonna show you quick and easy today, a few tips and tricks. You're gonna turn a couple of tool handles for the bow saw. Okay, now these are the originals. They're beautiful. You see, that's the craftsman's mark on there that he probably took a wire and did 3 notches on there with a hot wire. I turn these for ergonomics. I had a piece of, you know what that is?
I was gonna say Aboriginal ostrich. Right?
No, it's black palm. I got it in Florida when I lived down there.
Oh, cool.
And this is what I want you to check out. Feel this in your hand. You tell me if that feels good.
Feels all right.
Okay, now feel that.
All right, that's better.
Okay, it's because you got big hands. So that's the beauty of turning tool handles. I do it all the time when I need to. Say I pick up some chisels, or say I'm replicating an old antique saw, and which that we're gonna do. So today I chose some walnut.
Oh, okay.
And I'll show you how to lay that out to get it on the lathe. I'll show you how to set up the lathe, because I use easy wood tools. It's more of a scraping than a shearing cut.
Okay.
And I love teaching people that, because I'm going to show you two things. Go like this. Okay. And go like this. You just created a handle, and I'll show you what I'm talking about in a few minutes.
All right, Sedge, so this is the lathe?
Yeah, okay, it's very old. It was my dad got it for me when I was just getting the shop going down in Fort Lauderdale. There's bits and pieces that are broken on it. But like I said, I don't turn all the time.
Okay.
I turn for utility, tool handles mostly. Or something needed around the house, like a new rung or something like that. Okay, so quick terminology. This is the headstock. Okay, that's where the motor is. It's a variable speed, pulley driven. This is your tailstock. This is your spur center. That's your live center. Later on, we're gonna be putting a drill chuck in there, and I'm gonna show you how to all do this. So your tool rest, you can get different tool rests. You can get different chucks for here. Okay, and this is your banjo, and you can move it around, which we will today, to work our pieces. Okay, so those tool handles for the bow saw, we're gonna make them out of some walnut I had kicking around. I think it'll be a nice look. Okay?
Okay.
So we need to take this out.
Is that what this is for?
Yeah. Okay, so this is how you do it. It's a knockout tool. It's a through hole. So I'm just gonna go and take it out. Okay, so I cut this walnut, okay, and the overall length is roughly 5 inches. That's what felt good in your hand. And this one is 3.
Okay.
I cut them 4 and 6. And I'll show you why.
Okay.
Okay, the important part is finding center. So I'm gonna put this on here like this. We'll do the short piece first.
Okay.
Okay, the short handle. Now, this is really critical. We need to find the center. Okay, it'll turn around really quick when we rough it out. But I got one of these not too long ago. Mark Adams gave this to me, and you see the point right here? I put it just like this. Watch. Oop, let me get a finer pencil, and I bring it across, and I bring it across. That's my exact center.
That's cool.
Okay, so the next thing I'm going to use, okay, just to get things started, we know what this is, right? An awl. Okay, I'm going to do this one, and then I'll have you do the other one. Okay, but I'm going to take it like this, and put that right in the center. Now, this is important because that's going to go on that live center.
Okay.
I'm going to flip it around. I'll have you do the larger handle afterwards, so you can step through it with me. I'm going to find center again here. Okay, and find center again here. Okay. And then I'm going to take my awl, and this is kind of like a center punch just to get it started.
Right.
So there you go.
What's next?
What do you get in your hand?
This is the spur bit.
Okay, so let's look at this, and I'll take this a step further with you. If you notice that these have been sharpened. Okay. This is what locks this blank in there. Okay. So there's your center. So what I'll do is I'll just take it. You don't have to do it, but I line it up on those lines just like this, and I take a lump hammer like this, and we're ready to turn. So we put the spur center back in there, and you're gonna notice when I knocked it in with that lump hammer, it just gave me a reference point. We still need to push this in. Oh. So you see that point right there? Yep. Okay, we're gonna bring this in. This is the tailstock. I have it like this, and I'm gonna bring it right into that point. Okay, now, there's a handle back here. We're gonna take and lock our tailstock down, nice and sturdy. Okay, now, I'm gonna loosen this here. There's a little channel, but because I don't have that flywheel on there,
is that one of the broken pieces?
This is one of the broken pieces. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tighten it up, and you're gonna see these little spurs go in there, because that's where the catch is. Okay? Gotcha. Now the other thing that's nice about this, and by the way, there may be a different way of turning this. This is just how I've gotten used to it. Sure. And it works for me whenever I've turned a handle. this, and I'll just do this really quick so you can see it. This is where the pin's gonna be. Okay, and that handle will probably come out like this, but I'm not gonna make it that long. I'll bring it in like this. This will go away, but this gives me the reference that that's gonna stay intact, but I'll probably have it shorter here.
Okay.
Okay, it helps me in roughing it out. So let's turn this, and I'll show you how to do this. We're going to turn it to round. Then we'll figure out what's gonna be fit good in your hand. When this comes off, it'll be ready.
Wow.
Okay, for the epoxy of the pins. Now, this, we're gonna be using these tools. These are carbide tip, these easy wood tools. Okay, the one thing you'd have to do when you set up your lathe, your tool rest and your carbide should be at the center, okay? It shouldn't be tilted, because you're just gonna push this in like this.
Okay.
So what I did is because I wanted to make sure that will always be at center. I measured it all out. This is a shim stock, so whenever I put this tool rest in here, I know I'm dead center. I don't have to think about it. I'm gonna take my tool rest and I'm gonna bring it in pretty close. I'm gonna rotate it because we're gonna knock these ears off until it turns around.
Okay.
Okay, now, once again, let me practice with you. Watch. With this, and I just want you to see this, the only thing you're going to do, okay, and I hold it here, I put a thumb here. See my hand back here?
Yep.
I put my thumb here, and you're just gonna take it ever so slightly.
Okay.
Now I just taught Jason how to turn, and he was like amazed at how easy it is. You just always gotta be cautious, because this thing, as I turn it on, is spinning like a son of a... Okay? Okay, and I can turn it down, go a little bit slower, but I bring it up to about this speed. Now I'm gonna bring it in here, now watch. The only thing I'm doing, my thumb's on top. And I'm just pushing it in ever so slightly. So I'm gonna stop it so you can see what I'm actually doing. See how I'm knocking that off?
Wow.
See how I'm just knocking those corners off?
That's cool.
And what's fun about it is you just take your time doing it. Because I could take that just like this and keep pushing it in, making sure you don't dip it or go like this. You're just pushing in parallel, like this, at a 90. And you can hear it. Now watch, or listen. See how that's shaving off now?
Wow.
How quick round was that? Or almost round. See, look, wait, come in here, Chris, so you can see it. See, there's a little flat spot right there. So we'll just take it down so it's round.
All right.
So here's what's next. This is the handle that I turned out of the black palm, and this here was a little too big in diameter. It doesn't matter. It's a tool that I like. But we're gonna turn this down a little shorter for you, okay? Just so it seats a little bit better, okay? It's stuck proud of the frame. You'll see it when I put it together. But this is really a neat way for layout. Okay, because I'll take it like this, I'll bring it right here, and you'll see that's how long it's going to be. Okay, and then we can, it doesn't have to be this ergonomic, it could be a straight taper. Okay, so that's how you measure for your length.
Okay.
Because this is going to remain intact, so we got to turn it down.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is, these are what I call my roughing calipers. I took a measurement here, okay, right on. Then what we'll do is we'll turn it a little bit further. I don't wanna, you can't add wood, but we can take it away. So there's my first one, and I'm gonna put it right here. I got magnets on my lathe for that. And I look at the thickest part right here, and I go, that's about perfect, Okay, so I'll leave that right here as well.
Okay.
And the next thing I do is I'm gonna do a little bit more layout. Okay, I'm gonna take it like this. All right. And sometimes I just let things evolve because I know I'm gonna take that down to a really nice taper, and this part here is gonna come in like this, and I'm gonna bring it down, and this is where we're gonna pat it in the very end.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you'll understand all of this after, but we gotta drill it first. Okay, so I'm gonna rough it down.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll have this in my hand as well. I'll have it right here. Okay, now, oh, sorry. Go ahead and hold that for me. The other thing I'm gonna do is, because this is learned, but I take my tool rest and I tilt it so I know where my taper is gonna be.
Oh, okay.
So I look at my gauge lines and I'll just start right here, and I'm just bringing it in like this. And then I can work my taper from there. See that? See how it's coming in. Your thumb will probably rest there as you're sawing, or holding it from one side or the other. I'm just going to put that there. I'm just going to check that. That's about where I want it. We can always refine it. We'll take a measurement. Okay, so this part right here, this is where that's where I'm gonna end it. So I'm gonna give myself some room to round it in.
Okay.
You'll see where we'll refine it with a couple other tools.
Okay.
Okay, so this is where we got to be careful, because we're going to start sanding this in a minute. All right, I need to leave enough here. Okay, so this doesn't break off, and it's a fine line, because there's going to be some hand sanding for us. I don't have that chuck to chuck it into. Because we got to take this off, put a drill chuck, and drill into the center with that 1/4" brad point bit, so we can set our pins. So sometimes for me, on a tool handle, there can be a little hand sanding, because we still have to drill, and I still need enough support in there, and I don't want this to break away. Okay, so what we want to do now is we get a great form on it.
Oh, yeah.
We'll take our time with this as well, and I'll have you do quite a bit of this. We need to look. You see the lines there? Mm-hmm. We need to remove those, and we're going to start. I like to start with like 120, and you got to be careful with this. Okay, is you got to make sure that you're not. Always remember that's rotating toward you. So here's your 180. Okay. See how I just cut that up? I'm just going to bring it back in. I'm trying to avoid lines. So sometimes I'll go back and forth, but I want to make sure I get it right in there. I'm not altering that form. I'll even come in here and knock that edge off. Okay, and I mean, you can do hand sanding afterwards, but why waste all that time when this is spinning? So let's look at it, and you're gonna start to see it appear.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm gonna take some of these lines out. So we went 120.
Yep.
180.
Yep.
240.
Yep.
Now I'm gonna do 320.
Oh wow.
Okay, and then what we'll do is on the next handle, I'll step you through the whole process, but you'll be doing it.
Cool.
Okay, now the thing is this is just a tool handle. I'm not concerned if there's extra lines in there. If it was something for the house, like a bowl, I would concentrate a lot more on sanding. But start to feel that. You'll see it's really...
That's the brother, baby.
Yeah, it is nice. And I'm just gonna bring that over. But let's look at it as it stops. So there you go. Okay.
All right.
So this is why I turned this tenon here at the top. It's still holding. We moved the tailstock away. I knocked out the live center. I replaced it with this chuck. It's a keyless chuck, and I put in this brad point that we used to drill out the frame.
Okay.
Okay. So as I bring it in, I want you to see this. You got to be very gentle with it. Okay, and I'm going to lock in the tailstock. Okay, now there's a groove right here. Okay, I'm not going to tighten this because I'm going to drill that out as I turn it on, as I turn down the speed as well.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay. Now, as I take the ratchet and I turn this on, I'm just going to get it started a little bit. Make sure
it's going in the right direction.
It's going in the right direction. I'm going to lock it in, and this is how I'm going to drill this. Okay, Derek, I'm going to have you come over.
Okay.
I'm going to use my hand as a steady here.
Okay.
I'm going to have you turn it on.
How do I do that?
Right here.
Oh, right here.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
3.
Yep. And that will assure me. Okay, go ahead and turn it off. Now I just did a couple of ratchets, and you can see how that's dead on center, right?
Yep.
Now I'm going to take a quick measurement. Where's that pin? Right. I got to go in about 3/4. So it matters. And I'm just going to eyeball this just right here. So I'm in there ever so slightly, right? And I need to make sure that I can do all that. So that's about 3/4 of an inch. I'm just going to take it like this, and I'm going to mark my drill bit like this. And when I reach that, I know I have enough depth.
Cool.
Okay? So I'm just going to take it like this. Go ahead and turn it on again. Perfect. And I'll just take my time boring that. Exactly where I want it. So go ahead and stop that for me. Wow. So I'm just going to do a quick test fit. Let's see. Yep, that'll go all the way in.
Beautiful.
Cool. Okay, so that little tenon right there.
Yep.
I mean, there's chucks you can get where you can go in. This will chuck up. So this is free spinning, there's no tailstock, and you can cut that off and turn it and maybe even recess it. But we're not going to get in there today. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it like this, and we're just going to saw it off. Okay, and guess what? We'll take that to a piece of sandpaper, or you'll take this to a piece of sandpaper, and you'll just finish it off on the grits like that and sand it all out.
Perfect.
Okay? So there's the first tool handle. Let's get started on the second one.
Let's do it. All right, Sedge, how's that feel?
Well, man, you tell me. It's yours.
Feels pretty good to me.
It feels pretty good?
Yeah.
That's where you're going to be pulling the saw.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's show off a little.
All right.
I'll do one and you do one.
Sounds good.
Okay, so look at this little point, this diamond point. See it? Okay, we're going to make a couple Craftsman's lines for you in there.
All right.
Give it a little touch. Do it right here on the handle and very lightly. Got it? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and give it a little bit of a round over. Okay, so you put one in. Let's just feel that. Okay, perfect.
Should I go north or south?
I would go this way. Feel that. Wow.
All right, Sedge, we're all gloved up. What are we doing now?
Okay. By the way, great job turning those handles.
I can teach it.
Yeah, and so you're gonna notice on these pins there's a little flange, and that will butt up eventually to your frame. And when you tension it, it'll lock it in. But you're gonna be sawing with this, and you'll see these little ridges in here. We already dry fitted these. These fit in perfectly, okay? Piston fit. What I like to do is put a little epoxy in there.
Okay.
Okay, just to make sure. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take it, it's equal parts. A little's a lot with this, okay? And I'm gonna have you mix this. Okay. So we'll put a little more here. We'll eyeball it. This is stuff I used down in Fort Lauderdale. I bought it at Joe's Auto Marine way back when. I just love using this stuff. And what we're gonna do is I'll get it started, but I think that looks like about equal parts. What do you think?
Looks good to me.
And we'll start mixing it up and kneading it together. So I'll have you do that.
Okay. Twin powers activate.
Good job putting that together. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take a little here, and I'm gonna put a little on here like this. A little's a lot, and just rub it in. Now this is a pretty good quick set epoxy. All right, as I push it in, it's gonna come out, okay? And there's a flat spot on there, but I'll just set it in there like this. So you get a good bite in there. And maybe a little on the flange like this to set it in. And then I'll just take it like this, and you'll see it'll come out like that. We'll just leave it like that for just a second. Okay. And I'll have you do this one.
Okay. Got a little down here. All right.
And just make sure that your hands are clean when you go back to touch that, because you don't want it to go onto the knob itself.
Right.
See, where I take a little like this and I wipe it, and then I wipe it again, and I go to a fresh paper towel. Okay? And you know what? That's fine for me, just like that.
Super clean. Yeah, looks pretty good.
Looks pretty good. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna leave this, and you're gonna see how that will harden probably in about 15 minutes.
All right.
But I usually let it cure overnight. So there you go.
All right, Sedge. What's next?
Okay, he's getting good at this. Okay, so we have 2 of your frame size. By the way, fantastic job getting this done, Big D.
Well, thank you.
And by the way, you did really good at turning.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's pretty neat, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, let's stop patting ourselves on the back. Okay. Okay, so this is my frame piece, and you're gonna notice how that is all nice and smooth, and it fits perfect in your hand. And what we need to do is we need to do something similar to these, because this, sometimes you'll grab it like this and it's rough.
Right.
Okay, we want to smooth that. Now, there's a bunch of ways of doing this. You can take a really small round over bit and do this, but you're still gonna have to sand it and do this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to trace this side. I'll have you do this one after. Okay. And it's just gonna be a very slight offset here. Okay, but I'm gonna go all the way around the piece like this, okay? And what that's going to do is give us a line to eyeball.
Okay.
Okay, look at the original one. Look how that's rounded like that. And we'll take this to where we need to be. Okay, so it's a toss up between a few different tools, and I'll show you on the hand tool bench how we're going to do this. So I'm just going to bring it around. I'm going to stay away from this. We'll just knock this down very slightly. Okay, and we'll just go around the horn here, and I'll show you how to do that. We'll do it on both sides.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good.
The other thing too to remember is you already know the hand tools we're doing. Do you remember what we used? I think it was like last year about this time. We did a whole segment on what? Files, rasps, and rifflers.
That's true.
But then we're also going to take it with some sandpaper. Okay, and we're just going to ease the edges, but a little bit more, so it just is to your comfort of your hand.
Okay.
Cool?
Sounds good.
A little bit about grain on something like this and how to work this, because we're going to use a variety of things. We're going to use a small spoke shave. We'll use that Nicholson 49. We'll use maybe some of these smaller files for the notch. Believe it or not, I actually use this sometimes for sanding and getting in things. It's a little fingernail file. They work great. But also some sandpaper.
Perfect.
And it's a back and forth, back and forth. Now we're gonna use this vise because I like having it up close here, and hopefully we can get this. When we look at this grain, if I'm going to go in this direction, because if I go in this direction, you see how it's rising out? See that? Then you'll get tear out.
Oh,
so whenever you start to see tear out, that means you've got to go in the opposite direction. But sometimes, right from the beginning, you can actually tell. And I really like this vise because it's pretty daggone quick. So I'm going to take it like this. And I know on this side here, so it's a variety of different things or different tools to do this, but I can take it like this and I can slowly start to work that spoke shave and even come in here like this. And to get a better bite, I might just bring it up like this and bring it in and just start to ease those edges like this. And you'll see it start to appear for you.
That's awesome.
Okay, and I'll go right to that edge like this, and then you can also use this, and you see this little curve in here, and this rasp can be very aggressive, but I can start taking it in like that, and maybe we'll use this more, but it's a back and forth on either side. And you know what, I'll flip it this side and I'll work it from here, and I'm just gonna have you move just for a second, and just take it like this. And just use that. Now, the nice thing about this, as we go back and forth and work it, and some of these flats, there's some machining marks. I can take the spoke shave and come in here and get some of that. There's a lot of high spots on here, but you see, with that spoke shave, it starts to appear, and I can get quite a bit of that grain coming out, and then tear out here, I can come in this direction and start to get it. So it's just a series of back and forth, sanding, and then easing that edge. I'll come in here and sand. So does this take time? Yes. But we'll go back and forth through the whole process of these tools, and you'll see, and maybe we'll just concentrate with this, because this will be very aggressive. And
We can already see it taking shape too.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
And it's fun.
Yeah.
You know, we're not turning on a machine. There's a good, as I always tell people, why do you use hand tools? There's a zen to it for me. You know, so when I'm working wood, sounds home. When I'm working wood, things appear as I go through it. Okay, and it's that tactile function of my hand.
Well, I think that was the best part for me with turning yesterday, is you get to see it come to life instantly.
Yeah.
It was really, really cool.
And you turned those knobs, I think we did it within a half hour, 45 minutes. In between jibber jabbering, but it was cool because it's what is it? It's instant gratification.
Yep.
So I'm gonna have you start working this.
Okay.
I'll flip it over on this side, and as we do it, we'll get out these burn marks that you caused, not me. You're doing a lot of sanding, you did some spoke shaving, you did some rasping.
Oh yeah.
How does that feel in your hand now?
It feels much more comfortable, definitely.
All the sharp edges are off?
Yep, knocked them all down.
Okay, so I want to point out a few things. There's still some milling marks in here.
Okay.
Okay? You can do one of two things. You can, when you take this home, take it apart, okay, and continue sanding until you see some of these milling marks are out of there.
Okay.
Or you can leave them and let people know when this is passed on from generation to generation, hey, Big D made this. Okay, it's all made by hand. So there you go.
That's awesome.
Let's go over and let's cut a stretcher.
Let's do it. All right, Sedge. Are we done yet?
You sound like the kids. Okay, watch. We gotta cut the stretcher now. By the way, we're in the home stretch. Woo! All right, so this was a little bit of experimentation, but remember what I showed you, the original that we're copying, is that went in there like that. And you asked me a question off camera, which was really cool. There's no glue used. No, this can completely be taken apart and fit in such a small area. And then you can put it in a suitcase or whatever, or a carry-on and have it. Now, I want to go back to the original blade. See how much longer it was? So I had to find how to cut this stretcher properly. So at Festool you can get these. These are 8, 10, 12, and 14, and they're in different that's the thickness. But the length is 750 millimeters. So we got to cut this on the Capex.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you the sweet spot that I have found, because, by the way, this blade will be back in another video because I'm not getting rid of this. All right, that was my dad's. I'm going to make new blades for this. We're going to use bandsaw blades, and I'll show you how to mill those and get them all up. But these blades here I got, and I think I called it out in the beginning, from Gramercy Tool online, and that's where we got the pins, and they only sell one length, so I had to redesign this.
Makes sense.
And that's what goes in. Man, you did a really good job on these handles. That's what this goes right in, just like this, see? Let me see if I can get it in there, but that pin locks in.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the sweet spot had to be developed with the length of pin sticking out, this going in. Okay, and it's a couple of measurements, but if you do get those from Gramercy Tool, then you can use my measurement here, and I'll show you a quick measurement. It's 380 millimeter, because I had to incorporate the 28 millimeters that we plunged in.
That's right.
Follow?
Yep.
So the sweet spot, excuse me, the sweet spot is 380 millimeters, or roughly 15 inches.
Okay. That
combined with the twine that we're going to do next, and as we turn it, comes in absolutely perfect.
That's
great.
Cool.
A great bow saw. So let's take this and go cut it over on the Capex.
Let's do it.
Wow, that's about the best cut I've ever seen.
There we go.
Man, Big D, you are a master tool maker. All right, what's next?
You tell me.
Okay. Okay, so you get your handles in. You got your stretcher there.
Yep.
Now we're gonna put on the twine. What I did is I fed this in. You see the pins? Get in here, Chris. I fed those in, and the way this was designed, you gotta get it in the curve first, and then bring it back in. So we have that just right. We'll get this in yours, and then I'll show you how to do the twine.
Sounds good.
So what's next?
What's next?
Okay, so you can get all kinds of different twine. I just had this. I've tried 2 or 3 different ones. This seems like the right thickness to me. It's super, super strong.
Okay.
So it's really easy. You just cut a piece and wrap it around 3 times. That's as simple as it gets. You bring it into the notch of the horn. You don't over tighten it. I just bring it like this, because we're gonna tighten it with the toggle, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute.
Okay.
So what I do is I use a traditional square knot. Do you know how to tie a square knot? I learned this when I was a kid. If I wrap it this way, then I gotta what? Wrap it this way. And you know what? These square knots, see, look, it kind of makes a square. See how that comes through? And I'm just going to try to get as much tension on there as possible. Okay, so that's what is known as the toggle.
Oh.
And I just cut a piece of domino, but let me show you how I size this. This is going to go in here like this. Okay, in between. All right. I wanted to make it so you had a little bit sticking up. It's not in your way, but it has to hit your stretcher.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go cut one on the Capex for you. This is the right size for me. Now, what we can do, and you can see these all over the internet or in antique stores or wherever, where you can get really fancy with this and make a groove in here, but you can also turn a toggle. Okay, I've actually had people go, hey, that's a cool thingamajig. Okay, so there you go. Let's cut one of these over at the Capex.
Sounds good.
Okay, so here comes the fine line of the finish line. When you have your toggle in here and you start to put tension on here, okay, this is where you got to be careful. Okay, you got to start listening to your saw. Okay, and you got to bring it in like this, and you see how I'm doing it at an angle. So if I bring it like this, and then you can go back and forth. See, that's still a little too weak. So what you want to do is you want to take it, but you've got to be careful, because too much tension. See that?
I love it.
So we'll take it over to a piece of wood, and I'll show you what a turning saw is for.
Let's do it.
So Big D, I want you to take this for a test run now. I want to point this out.
Okay.
You can switch this blade in any orientation,
Okay.
whether you want to pull it or push it, but I prefer to do a push stroke. So there you go. Go ahead and check it out. Let's see the
give it a
result
push.
of your efforts. Man, is that slick.
Wow.
So there you go, Big D. We have taken an old antique bow saw and we've made a couple replicas by making a simple template. So, Merry Christmas. You can take that home. That's your first bow saw.
Awesome.
And as we always say,
Be positive.
and stay sharp.